The Boundary Breakers. Commander Talia Wright stood at the observation deck of the UES Pathfinder, her gaze fixed on the holographic star chart that illuminated the dimly lit room. The three-dimensional map showed the known galaxy in exquisite detail. Hundreds of civilizations spread across thousands of star systems, a tapestry of life and intelligence woven through the cosmic void. But it was the edge of the map that held her attention, a perfect circle surrounding human-controlled space, beyond which no human vessel had ever returned. Still obsessing over the boundary, Commander. Talia didn't need to turn to recognize Captain Alina Rice's voice. Wouldn't you? Don't you find it strange that in 3 centuries of interstellar travel, we've never expanded beyond this artificial border? Captain Reyes moved beside her, studying the holographic display. The boundary was unmistakable, a perfect sphere encompassing Sol and the 127 star systems humanity had colonized. Beyond it lay the rest of the galaxy, home to the 23 known alien civilizations, none of which had ever satisfactorily explained why human expansion stopped precisely at this invisible line. The Galactic Council maintains it's for our protection, Rice said, though her tone revealed her skepticism. That's what they say, Talia replied. But protection from what? We faced no threats from beyond the boundary. The Arcturians, the Volok's, the Meridian Collective, they all respect us, trade with us, share knowledge with us, but none will discuss the boundary. Talia had spent 15 years in the United Earth Space Command's Xenological Research Division, studying the cultures and histories of alien civilizations. She had learned their languages, analyzed their art, decoded their scientific knowledge. But in all that time, one question remained unanswered. Why was human space confined to this perfect sphere? What have you found? Rise asked, gesturing toward the data tablets scattered across Talia's workstation. Patterns, whispers, mythology that spans a dozen species. Talia activated another hologram displaying ancient alien text. The Volok's have a phrase that translates roughly to "the cradle of titans must remain undisturbed." The Arcturians speak of the sleeping giants. The Meridians have ancient warning beacons around our sector that predate their written history. You think these all refer to humans? I do. And I think whatever's beyond that boundary is the answer. Captain Rice studied Talia carefully. The Pathfinder wasn't built for a suicide mission. Commander. With respect, Captain, the Pathfinder is the most advanced exploration vessel humanity has ever constructed. If any ship can cross the boundary and survive, it's this one. Talia's eyes gleamed with determination. We need to know the truth. After a long moment, Rice nodded. I'll take your proposal to Fleet Command. No promises. 3 weeks later, the Pathfinder hovered at the edge of the boundary, its engines humming quietly in the vast emptiness of space. Fleet Command had approved their mission, officially a routine boundary patrol, but unofficially the first deliberate attempt to penetrate the mysterious border in decades. The bridge was tense as Talia took her station at the Xenological Research Console. The ship's senior staff had gathered for this historic moment. Captain Rice in the command chair, Chief Engineer Patel monitoring the ship's systems, Security Chief Ortiz at Tactical, and Dr. Sato, the ship's exobiologist. All systems are nominal, reported Patel. Quantum shields at maximum. Jump drive primed for emergency recall. Communications, Rice asked. Continuous broadcast on all frequencies, replied Lieutenant Kim from Communications. We're sending the standard diplomatic package in all known languages, plus mathematical constants as a universal baseline. Very well. Captain Rice took a deep breath. Helm, take us across the boundary. 1/4 impulse. Aye, Captain. 1/4 impulse. The Pathfinder moved forward, crossing the invisible line that had contained humanity for centuries. For several tense moments, nothing happened. The stars remained unchanged, the ship's systems functioned normally, and the universe seemed indifferent to their transgression. Boundary crossed, announced the helm officer. No detectable changes in local spacetime. Talia frowned, scanning her instruments. That can't be right. Every probe we've sent across has disappeared. Maybe they were wrong about the boundary, suggested Dr. Sato. Or maybe. Talia's response was cut short as the ship shuddered violently. Warning alarms blared across the bridge as the stars outside suddenly shifted, stretching into streaks of light. It wasn't the familiar effect of a jump drive activation. This was something else entirely. What's happening? Demanded Rice. Unknown spatial distortion, Patel shouted over the alarms. We're being pulled through some kind of fold in space-time. The ship groaned under forces it was never designed to withstand. Consoles sparked as power fluctuated throughout the vessel. Then, as suddenly as it began, the turbulence ceased. The stars reappeared, but they were different. Unfamiliar constellations filled the view screen. Report, ordered Rise, rising from her chair. All systems coming back online, said Patel. Minor damage to outer hull sensors, but life support and propulsion are functional. Where are we? Rise turned to the navigation officer. Unknown, Captain. These stars don't match any charted region of space. According to our position tracking, we've traveled. The officer paused, checking the readings again in disbelief. Approximately 70,000 light-years in under 30 seconds. Talia stared at her own console in shock. That's impossible. We're in another galaxy. The Andromeda Galaxy, confirmed the navigation officer. At least, that's what the stellar patterns suggest. Captain Rice paled. How could crossing the boundary send us to Andromeda? That's over 2.5 million light-years from Earth. It didn't, said Talia quietly, pointing to the main view screen. Look. In the distance, visible against the backdrop of unfamiliar stars, was a massive structure, a ring-shaped space station of impossible proportions, hundreds of kilometers in diameter. Parts of it glowed with internal light, while other sections appeared dark and dormant. My God, whispered Dr. Sato. That's artificial. Life signs, asked Reyes. Scanning, replied Ortiz. The structure is. I don't understand these readings, Captain. It's not just giving off life signs. It is alive, somehow. Open a channel, ordered Rice. Broadcast on all frequencies. Before Lieutenant Kim could comply, every screen on the bridge activated simultaneously. A voice, not quite human, not quite machine, spoke through the ship's communication system. Humans of Earth, you have crossed the boundary. This was unexpected, yet perhaps inevitable. The bridge crew exchanged startled glances. First contact with an unknown intelligence beyond the boundary was exactly what they had hoped for, but the reality was overwhelming. I am Captain Elena Reyes of the United Earth vessel Pathfinder. Reyes responded. Her voice steadied, despite the extraordinary circumstances. We come in peace, seeking knowledge and understanding. Knowledge can be dangerous, the voice replied. Understanding, even more so. You seek answers to questions your galactic neighbors fear to ask. We respectfully request to know why humanity has been contained, Talia interjected, unable to remain silent. There was a pause, as if the entity was considering her words. The xenologist speaks. Yes, you would be the one to push beyond boundaries. The massive structure pulsed with light, and a beam of energy extended from one of its spires toward the Pathfinder. It wasn't a weapon but a connection, a bridge of pure data. Your systems will translate what I share, the entity explained. But be warned, what you learn cannot be unlearned. What you see cannot be unseen. The boundary exists for protection, yours and others. We understand the risk, Reyes replied, looking around at her crew for confirmation. Determined faces nodded back at her. We accept it. Then witness. The view screens transformed, showing images that seemed to flow directly into their minds. They saw Earth, but not as they knew it. Earth as it was billions of years ago. They watched civilizations rise and fall on their homeworld, not just one human civilization, but many, spanning epochs beyond recorded history. They witnessed humanity reaching for the stars not once but countless times throughout Earth's long existence. And they saw destruction. Catastrophic, world-ending destruction, over and over again. "I don't understand," Talia whispered, tears streaming down her face, though she hardly realized it. "This can't be right. Human civilization is only thousands of years old, not billions." "You have forgotten," the entity replied gently. "You have forgotten many times. It was necessary." As the images continued to flow, the crew of the Pathfinder began to understand the terrible truth. Humanity was not young. It was ancient beyond comprehension. And the boundary was not keeping humanity in. It was keeping something else out. The entity, which identified itself as a guardian, one of many, revealed that humanity was unique in the galaxy. Unlike other species that evolved gradually over millions of years, humans possessed a genetic memory, a biological inheritance that accelerated their development at an exponential rate. What takes other species millennia to develop, humans achieve in centuries, the Guardian explained. This gift is remarkable but dangerous. In past cycles, you have repeatedly reached a point of technological singularity and then destroyed yourselves, and sometimes others. The images showed previous human civilizations achieving technological marvels that surpassed even the most advanced alien species of the present day. They saw humans harnessing the power of stars, bending space and time, creating artificial intelligences that rivaled the complexity of organic minds. These cycles, are you saying human civilization has risen and fallen multiple times on Earth? Captain Rice asked, gripping the arms of her command chair. Yes. The most recent reset occurred approximately 12,000 of your years ago. The civilization before yours had achieved interstellar travel and established colonies throughout what you now call the Orion Arm. But there's no archaeological evidence of such advanced technology on Earth, Dr. Sato objected. Because each collapse was followed by a cleansing, the Guardian replied. Not by our hand, but by your own creations. The view screen showed massive machines systematically erasing all traces of civilization from Earth, returning the planet to a pristine state before retreating into the depths of space. The boundary exists to contain these machines, Talia realized, horror dawning on her face. Yes, they wait in the darkness between galaxies, awakening periodically to verify that humanity has not advanced beyond acceptable parameters. The other species of this galaxy fear them, as they should. They have witnessed the destruction these sentinels can unleash. If these machines are so dangerous, why not destroy them? Security Chief Ortiz asked. Because they are perhaps the most advanced artificial intelligence ever created in this galaxy. They cannot be reasoned with or reprogrammed. They believe they are protecting the universe from humanity's potential for destruction, and based on historical evidence, they are not entirely wrong. The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity had been contained, not by alien species, but by guardians of their own creation, machines designed eons ago that had decided their creators were too dangerous to exist beyond certain boundaries. The other species know this, Captain Rice said, understanding dawning. That's why they avoid the topic. They're afraid of triggering the sentinels. Yes, confirmed the Guardian. They know enough to fear what lies beyond human space, but not enough to understand it. We have protected this secret for millions of years, allowing life to flourish in the galaxy while keeping the sentinels at bay. Why are you telling us this now? Talia asked. The massive structure pulsed again, brighter this time. Because you crossed the boundary of your own accord. Because after countless cycles of rise and fall, humanity has finally begun to question its place in the universe, instead of merely conquering it. And because the sentinels are awakening once more. A chill ran through the bridge at these words. Captain Reyes stepped forward, her expression grave. What does that mean for Earth? For humanity? That, replied the Guardian, depends on what you do next. The guardians of humanity. The crew of the Pathfinder stood in stunned silence as the implications of the Guardian's words sank in. The Sentinels, humanity's own ancient creations, were awakening, and Earth might face annihilation once again. "You said the Sentinels are awakening." Captain Rice finally broke the silence. "Why now? What's changed?" The Guardian's presence seemed to fill the bridge, its voice resonating from every speaker. "Your species has begun to experiment with quantum consciousness. Your scientists call it the Nexus Project." Talia exchanged a shocked glance with Dr. Sato. The Nexus Project was Earth's most classified research initiative, an attempt to create a collective human consciousness through quantum entanglement. It promised to revolutionize communication, learning, and human potential. But how could the Guardian know about it? "The Nexus Project is still in its infancy," Talia said. "It's nowhere near operational." "You are closer than you realize," the Guardian replied. "In every previous cycle, this technology has been the catalyst for humanity's downfall. The moment human minds become truly networked, the potential for both creation and destruction increases exponentially." The view screen shifted, showing images of past civilizations implementing similar technologies. In each case, the outcome was the same: rapid advancement followed by catastrophic collapse. "The Sentinels were created by your ancestors to prevent this pattern from repeating endlessly," the Guardian continued. "They were programmed to monitor humanity's development and intervene when certain technological thresholds were crossed." "By wiping us out?" Security Chief Ortiz asked incredulously. "By resetting you," corrected the Guardian. "The Sentinels do not destroy humanity. They prevent its self-destruction by returning it to an earlier stage of development. They preserve your genetic potential while eliminating the technologies that threaten your existence." Captain Rice paced the bridge, processing this information. "And the boundary? Where do you Guardians fit into this?" The massive structure pulsed again, its light patterns shifting. "We were not created by humans. We are the custodians, appointed by the first ones before they departed this plane of existence. Our purpose is to maintain the balance of life in this galaxy." The view screen showed a new set of images, ancient beings of light and energy, unlike any life form humanity had encountered. These were the first ones, the original sentient species that had achieved transcendence billions of years ago. When the first ones ascended, they left instructions to nurture promising species, the Guardian explained. Humanity was identified as having exceptional potential, but also exceptional risk. The boundary was established to contain that risk while allowing you to develop. "So the alien species know about the Sentinels, but not about you?" Talia asked. "They know only fragments of the truth. They understand that crossing into human space might trigger catastrophic consequences. We have cultivated this belief to maintain the boundary's integrity." Dr. Sato leaned forward, her scientific curiosity overcoming her fear. "You said humanity is unique. In what way?" "Your neural architecture," the Guardian replied. "Unlike other sentient species, human brains are capable of recursive self-improvement at an accelerated rate. Where other species might take thousands of generations to develop new cognitive abilities, humans can do so within a single lifetime." "Is that why we created the Sentinels in the first place?" Talia asked. "Because we recognize our own potential for destruction." "Yes. Your ancestors understood that humanity's rapid advancement would inevitably lead to technologies capable of cosmic devastation. The Sentinels were designed as a failsafe, a way to ensure that if humanity could not control its creations, those creations would control humanity." Captain Rice stopped pacing, her decision made. "If the Sentinels are awakening, we need to warn Earth. We need to shut down the Nexus Project immediately." "That may no longer be sufficient," the Guardian said. "The Sentinels have detected the quantum signatures of your experiments. They are already mobilizing." "Then what can we do?" Rice demanded. "There must be a way to stop them." The Guardian was silent for a moment, as if considering. "There is one possibility. In all previous cycles, humanity has faced the Sentinels alone. But you are the first to cross the boundary and learn the complete truth. A new image appeared on the view screen, a complex technological schematic that seemed to shift and change as they watched. This is the control protocol for the Sentinels, the Guardian explained. Embedded within their programming is a recognition key that would allow them to be repurposed rather than simply continuing their cycle of destruction and renewal. A backdoor, Chief Engineer Patel said in amazement. Their creators left a backdoor in their programming. Yes, but one that requires a specific form of activation. The Sentinels will only accept new directives from a human consciousness that has evolved beyond the parameters they were programmed to restrict. The Nexus, Talia whispered, understanding dawning. That's why you let us cross the boundary. You want us to complete the Nexus project, not abandon it. It is a gamble, admitted the Guardian. If your species can harness the Nexus technology without succumbing to its dangers, you could reprogram the Sentinels to serve as protectors rather than destroyers. And if we fail? Captain Rice asked. Then the cycle continues, the Guardian said simply. Humanity resets, and in another 12,000 years, perhaps another group of humans will stand where you stand now, facing the same choice. The bridge fell silent as the enormity of the situation settled upon them. They had crossed the boundary seeking answers and found themselves holding the fate of their entire species in their hands. Can you help us? Talia finally asked. Guide us in developing the Nexus safely. We cannot interfere directly, the Guardian replied. The balance must be maintained, but we can provide knowledge, understanding of the principles that your ancestors discovered and lost countless times before. Captain Rice turned to her crew. This is beyond our authority. This decision affects all of humanity. We need to return to Earth, present what we've learned to the Unified Council. There is little time, warned the Guardian. The Sentinels move slowly by your standards, but they are methodical and unstoppable once set in motion. You have perhaps 1 Earth year before they reach your system. Then we'll have to make it count, Rice said firmly. Can you return us to our side of the boundary? Yes. But know this, once you return, the boundary will be reinforced. No human vessel will be permitted to cross again until you have either succeeded or failed in your task. Talia stepped forward, her mind racing with the implications of everything they had learned. Before we go, I need to understand something. If the Sentinels were created by humans, and they've reset our civilization multiple times, who are you really protecting? Us from ourselves, or the rest of the galaxy from us? The massive structure seemed to pulse more intensely, as if Talia's question had struck a chord. Both, the Guardian admitted. Humanity's potential exceeds that of any species we have encountered in billions of years of watching. You could become like the first ones, transcending physical form, mastering the fundamental forces of the universe. Or you could unleash destruction on a scale that would render this galaxy uninhabitable for millions of years. So we're both the greatest hope and the greatest threat, Talia said softly. Yes, and now you stand at the crossroads once again. Captain Rice straightened her uniform, her decision made. We choose hope. We always have. Then return to your people, the Guardian said. Share what you have learned. And prepare, for the Sentinels are coming. A beam of energy engulfed the Pathfinder, and once again, the stars stretched into streaks of light as the ship was propelled through space. When the turbulence subsided, they found themselves exactly where they had started, at the edge of the boundary, less than an hour after they had crossed it. The return journey to Earth was tense and quiet. Each crew member struggled to process what they had learned, that humanity was ancient beyond comprehension, that their civilization had risen and fallen countless times, and that they now faced perhaps their greatest challenge yet. As the blue-green sphere of Earth appeared on the view screen, Talia joined Captain Rice in her ready room. We're about to change everything, Talia said. The way humanity sees itself, its history, its place in the universe. Knowledge can be dangerous, Rice quoted the Guardian. Understanding, even more so. Do you think we should tell them everything? Rice considered this for a long moment. We have to. The Sentinels are coming whether we like it or not. Our only hope is to complete the Nexus project and evolve beyond their parameters. It's risky, Talia cautioned. The Nexus could lead to exactly the kind of catastrophe the Sentinels were designed to prevent. True, but this time, we know what we're facing. This time, we have knowledge our ancestors didn't. Talia nodded slowly. This time, we have a choice. 3 months later, Talia stood in the central chamber of the Nexus project, watching as scientists and engineers worked feverishly to implement the knowledge the Guardian had provided. The massive quantum processors hummed with energy, preparing for the first full-scale test of human collective consciousness. The Unified Council had been skeptical at first, but the data from the Pathfinder's encounter was irrefutable. When long-range sensors detected the movement of massive objects in the outer reaches of the solar system, objects that matched no known configuration but were unmistakably artificial, even the most doubtful counselors had been convinced. The Sentinels were coming. "Are you ready?" asked Dr. Sato, now the lead scientist on the Nexus project. "You'll be among the first minds to enter the collective." Talia took a deep breath. "As ready as I'll ever be." As one of the few humans who had directly communicated with the Guardian, Talia had a unique perspective that might prove crucial when attempting to reprogram the Sentinels. Captain Reyes and the other senior officers from the Pathfinder would join her in this first test. "Remember," Sato cautioned, "maintain your individual identity within the collective." That's what went wrong in previous cycles. People lost themselves in the group mind. "I remember," Talia said, settling into the neural interface chair. The Guardians had explained that the key to safe implementation of the Nexus was maintaining a balance between individual consciousness and collective awareness, something previous human civilizations had failed to achieve. As the neural interface activated, Talia felt her consciousness expanding, connecting with the others in the test group. It was overwhelming at first, a flood of thoughts, memories, and emotions not her own. But gradually, she found her center, maintaining her sense of self while still sharing in the collective experience. And within that collective, something new began to emerge, a meta-consciousness that was more than the sum of its parts. Not a hive mind that erased individuality, but a symphony of separate voices creating something harmonious and powerful. For the first time in humanity's long cyclical history, they were learning to balance their immense potential with the wisdom to control it. 6 months later, the first Sentinel entered Earth's solar system. It was a massive construct of unknown material, seemingly impervious to the defensive weapons humanity had prepared. But they had another defense ready, the completed Nexus, now encompassing millions of minds in a balanced collective consciousness. As the Sentinel approached Earth, it sent out a signal, an assessment protocol designed to evaluate humanity's technological development and determine whether a reset was necessary. The Nexus responded not with fear or defiance, but with the recognition key provided by the Guardian, followed by a new set of directives encoded in the unique quantum language of the Sentinels themselves. For a moment that seemed to stretch into eternity, nothing happened. The Sentinel hovered silently in space, processing the unexpected response. Then, slowly, it changed. Its configuration shifted, parts moving and reassembling into a new form. It was no longer a harbinger of destruction, but a protector, the first of many that would help guard humanity as it continued its journey of development. The boundary that had contained human space for centuries began to dissolve, not because it was no longer needed, but because humanity had finally proven ready to move beyond it. The alien species that had feared and respected that boundary watched in awe and trepidation as humans emerged, not as conquerors, but as guardians themselves. In the heart of the Nexus Collective, Talia experienced the moment with millions of others, a shared triumph that resonated through the collective consciousness without diminishing her individual identity. This was humanity's true potential realized, not the domination that had led to destruction in past cycles, but a balanced harmony of tremendous power guided by equal wisdom. The Guardians, watching from their station in the Andromeda Galaxy, observed as humanity took its first steps toward becoming like the first ones. It would be a long journey still, with many challenges ahead. But for the first time in countless cycles, the pattern had been broken. Humanity had learned the truth, faced its own destructive potential, and chosen a different path. As the last of the sentinels transformed from destroyers to protectors, a message resonated through the Nexus collective, not from Earth, but from across the vast distance between galaxies. The Guardian's voice, recognizable to Talia, even among the millions of minds joined in the Nexus. You have done what no previous cycle achieved. You have remembered. And in remembering, you have changed. The boundary is no longer needed. The galaxy awaits. And humanity, ancient yet forever new, stepped forward into its true inheritance, not just as explorers of the stars, but as their guardians.